Right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Squel, CM Nasiea, Esquelawan, Kwana Selam Nala. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the lands of the Hulkaminam speaking people, specifically the Kwamutsun village. The Board of Education is honored to be able to collaboratively walk by the Kawetsin, Melahat, Subasis, Halal, Penelakut, Stamatis, and Layaksa peoples who have cared for this land for thousands of years. May we walk gently on the ceded and unceded territories of their lands as we work together to build Allah Rahmatsmana. Adoption agenda. The Board of Education of School District 79 adopts the agenda of June 4th, 2024 open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Trustees, before we move the consent agenda, is there anything you would like to see removed from it? Hearing nothing, that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley approves the consent agenda items of the open board meeting of June 4th, 2024 as presented. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Strachan. All those in favor? Thank you. Minutes of the May 7th, 2024 open board meeting, that the Board of Education of School District 79, Cowichan Valley adopts the minutes of the May 7th, 2024 open board meeting. Moved by Trustee Doman, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Recognitions and delegations. So we have a recognition tonight that we're very excited about. So our recognition tonight on the Inclusive Learning Team Dyslexia Canada Educational Excellence Award recipients. The Board of Education would like to recognize the Inclusive Learning Team whose hard work has instrumental in being chosen as one of the esteemed recipients of the Dyslexia Canada Educational Excellence Awards that celebrates exceptional dedication within school communities and supporting students with dyslexia. So tonight we would like to honor Amy Loudon, Tara James, Jessica Lindrum, Karina Fitznaar, Michelle Andrews, Brenda Lee, Kim Derbyshire, Danny Morrow, Glenn Posey, Carissa Dunham, Erica Roberts, Mary Dawn McWatt, Rich Reddy, and Darlene Reynolds. This award recognizes the outstanding contributions of educators, principals, administrators, librarians, psychologists, speech and language pathologists, and others who showcase remarkable commitment and innovation in ensuring equitable education for students with dyslexia. The award also extends to schools or school districts that have spearheaded remarkable programs or initiatives specifically designed to support and empower students with dyslexia. And then we received this letter. Dear Cowichan Valley School District team, on behalf of Dyslexia Canada, it is with great pleasure that we extend our heartfelt congratulations to you as one of the distinguished recipients of the 2024 Dyslexia Canada Educational Excellence Awards. Your remarkable dedication and unwavering commitment to supporting students with dyslexia within your community have not gone unnoticed. This award recognizes and celebrates individuals and teams who have demonstrated exceptional leadership, innovation, and compassion in the realm of dyslexia education. Your tireless efforts have undoubtedly made a significant impact, fostering an inclusive and supportive learning environment where all students can thrive. As we reflect on the profound importance of your work, we are inspired by the countless lives you have positively influenced and empowered through your advocacy and dedication. Your exemplary contributions exemplify the core values of Dyslexia Canada and serve as a beacon for hope for individuals with dyslexia and their families across the nation. Closed within this package, this is very good, is a well-deserved award, a tangible symbol of the appreciation for your outstanding achievements. We hope it serves as a constant reminder of the incredible differences you continue to make in the lives of those affected by dyslexia. The board extends congratulations to the Inclusive Learning Team. We are very proud of your dedication, your innovation, your collaboration, and impactful efforts and we are pleased to recognize you with a token of our thanks. So on behalf of the board, thank you for all you do for our kids. This is a gift from the board. We have some lovely plants back here. So please take one. And yeah. Oh, thank you. And feel free to take a plant and read around if you like.
Try on that one.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Mr. Posey. Next, we have a delegation from the Cowichan Valley School Heritage Society. We have Bob King, Francine O'Brien, Carolyn Powlitz. Nice to see you again. Cecil Ashley and Shirley Blackstaff.
So, good afternoon, trustees. My name is Carolyn Prelwitz, and I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the Cowichan Valley Schools Heritage Society. And the agenda already mentioned my colleagues. We've got Bob King in the green sweater, former teacher and our president. Francine O'Brien in the beige jacket, vice president, and Shirley Blackstaff, a director, and Cece Ashley, another director, and also the administrator of our website. And we're here today to give you, bring you up to date with our work towards preserving school history in the Cowichan Valley. And you will note the little red schoolhouse on the slide, and more on this in a moment. Our society was formed in 2007 with 3 specific purposes. And you can see those purposes on the screen: researching all the information that we can find, documenting that information and making sure that it's stored safely, and letting the public know about educational history here in the Valley. Since 2007, we've made a number of accomplishments in meeting those purposes. We have documented over 200 former schools within the boundaries of Cowichan District 79, both public and private, dating back to circa 1849, with the earliest school, that of Greenpoint Indian School, at the southern tip of Mount Zuhalem, and that was taught by Father Lamfreer. Many of these former 200 schools are no longer with us today. Some deteriorated back to dust, some were moved to new locations, some were simply dismantled and the wood or whatever was used somewhere else, and some burned to the ground. And a few are still with us today in another format. At least 2 are former private homes, a couple are community halls, one's a child daycare center, and so on. The oldest school still standing in the valley is that of the Second Cowichan Station School, built in 1885 on the property of pioneer James Mearns, just off Coke Sila Road. And that building was moved in 1977 from its original location and today stands next to the Fairbridge Farm Chapel. So many of you may have seen that little building and wondered what it was. It is a Canadian and BC heritage building. We have collected hundreds of archival records in the form of school class and schoolhouse photos. We've collected school registers, school newsletters, and school yearbooks. And all of those documents that have come to us and been documented and the information gleaned from them have been transferred to the Cowichan Valley Museum archives to a specific FONDS. That's spelled F-O-N-D-S, and is a French word and means collection in archival terms. So that collection, that FONDS, is labeled in the name of our society. And lastly, we have published many articles on our discoveries and research in the former Cowichan Leader, the current Cowichan Valley Citizen, as well as the Cowichan Valley Voice, the South Cowichan Life magazine, the BC History magazine, and the BC Retired Teachers Association Postscript magazine. And copies of many of those articles can be found on our website, together with both schoolhouse and class photos. In 2012, our society made the decision to honor former schools with signage placed as close as possible to the original location of that former school. And we felt the signage should feature two items which are still recognized symbols of a school, even in this day of digitized technology, that being a handheld school bell and the little red schoolhouse. It has taken us 13 years, but we have now been successful in having school bell shaped signs placed at the sites of 61 former schools in the valley. This involved deciding which former schools should have signage. The former Duncan High School was a definite choice. We knew exactly where the school stood, and there are still many in the community today who attended that school and remembering it burning to the ground in 1946. The same applied to former Lake Cowichan Superior, Mount Breton Elementary, Bayview, and Cobble Hill 2 schools. Now, they didn't all burn down, but people in the community know where their schools are today. Other former schools were so remote that very few community members would see signage, and others who did manage to see the sign might decide to do damage to it and use it for target practice. And a good example would be the Mount Sicker School, which operated between 1901 and 1910 on the top of Mount Sicker when it was a copper mining town. And just for your information, that was the biggest school on the island in 1901. It was a 2-room, huge school. Nothing exists of it today, but again, we thought we can't put a sign up there. People don't hike up there. There's no roads, and we were worried about it being used for target practice. We also needed to get confirmation via the exact locations to make sure they were correct, and this was not always easy. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Lake Shaw School, which was a public school that operated between 1930 and 1932 at mile 53.9 on the ENN Railway between the Kinsale Trestle and Deerholm. We're not quite sure where it is, so we can find no remains of the logging camp that was there. That logging camp and school both burned down in 1932. Another school was Benelak School, which operated between 1925 and 1934 at mile 65.4 on the CNR Railway track to Lake Cowichan. Now, the station house cement is still there, but where the school stood and where the village stood, or the logging camp stood, we have not been able to determine. So because we weren't able to actually pick those places exactly, they were not chosen for signage. And lastly, we needed to work with government authorities for permission to put up some of the signs, as well as get signed agreement from current owners of the properties where former schools once stood. And that was all a very time-consuming and person-to-person process, and all through, and as well as through the COVID-19 years. We are particularly grateful to the Maintenance Department of School District 79 for its assistance in having the signs erected, and particularly want to acknowledge district employees, both former and current, starting with Monroe Grove, Graham Murray, Ian Murray, Richard Dibble, and Jeffrey Robinson in this endeavor. Our signage now appears to be an important part of Cowichan Valley history. More and more people are finding the signs or seeing them and asking about the school named in the sign. We see things on Facebook like, you know, you're from Duncan, Cowichan Valley history, or Cowichan Valley, do you remember? So all of that is very gratifying to those of us here in the delegation. And it confirms our suspicions that people do not want their schools forgotten. We have many acknowledgements to make and many thank yous to make, and School District 79 is the first. Not only because of the cooperation that you gave us and help with the signage project and helping make sure the signs were put up, but also for forwarding on messages about donations waiting for us here at the front desk, or people have phoned in and have asked research inquiries that we've been able to answer. And so we would like to present School District 79 with our recently printed booklet featuring the 61 signs that have signage. Bob, if you'd like to walk that up.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'd just like to say that it was over 20 years ago that we decided that the system in Cowichan was so successful in educating our students that they did not deserve to have the history forgotten. And so we decided to pursue it and worked at it energetically for the last 20 odd years. And that's the result.
Thank you.
We do plan to present other copies of the booklet to the other organizations, and of course the private business and homeowners on whose properties have signage on them now. And we will get on with doing that. And we're hoping that the booklet will be a useful reference, and that those persons wanting more information will check out our fonds within the boundaries at the Cowichan Valley Museum Archives. And you may recognize this Bill Keane cartoon. It's just talking about what people think about when they pass a school, what's happening in even today's schools, what's happening in there today. And I think everybody can sit back in their memories and even think of all the schools and the teachers and the classmates that they had. So as I mentioned, our fonds is at the Cowichan Valley Archives, and that's on the 3rd floor of Duncan City Hall. Don't phone too quickly if you have any, or you want to come and do some research there, because right now all the archives have been packaged up because the City Hall is going through renovations. But hopefully that will be put back together by the end of the summer. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
we're available.
trustees. Do we have any questions? First of all, may I start by saying thank you. Thank you for preserving the history of the community when it comes to education. And thank you to all of you that have put out the time and the effort to make this happen. It is appreciated. So trustees, Trustee Lizzie.
I would just like to say thank you because I feel like I'm a part of history. I'm that old in this community. And to see this, it is greatly appreciated. So, and my old woodwork teacher, not old.
Be gentle, Trustee Lizzie.
You know, this feels good. This is a good news, a good field story. Thank you.
Any other questions, trustees, or comments? Trustee Croft.
I understand you're being somewhat careful about the number that get distributed, but during my other job, I would love to have a copy or perhaps copy that one. Is there a way to get another copy?
We only printed a set number of copies, and they're all designated.
Maybe we can get this copy,
We
Trustee
haven't
Croft.
planned to sell them or
Would it be
anything.
problematic were someone to copy that one?
Can we copy this?
Maybe, that's okay.
Copyright.
Okay.
Yeah, and thanks, Bob, because we did have to get permission for a lot of the photographs that are in there, because they're all copyrighted photographs as well, so, yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm sure it can be shared and everybody can.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
Trustees, I'll leave this in the trustee office.
Yeah. Thank you.
See nothing. Thank you so very much for your presentation this evening. Thank you. All right. We have one more delegation this evening. We have John Horn. Welcome to the front, John. Hi, thank you for coming. So John, just a reminder that you have 10 minutes and the trustees will ask questions after. Thank you.
So I hate to be the dark cloud that follows the sunshine.
I know we've had a
It's a hard
wonderful
act to
start.
follow, I must say. But, so just really, just to introduce myself, I'm the Director of Social Planning and Protective Services for the Municipality of North Cowichan. And we're here today just to talk about homelessness, mental health, and addictions. So we're really keenly aware of the impact that those issues have on school properties, on your staff, on your students, and your facilities. And we're working very closely with all the jurisdictions in the Cowichan Valley to tackle that. So I'm just here today to talk a bit about the process we've undertaken and to explain a little bit about where we are in that process and to get feedback from yourselves. So I'll start with a bit of context. Back in 2019, these issues were just as relevant in 2019 as they are today. So the municipality hired a guy named Randy Churchill to do a safer plan. And the plan really focused on that area of the Trans-Canada Highway between the Marsh and the Silver Bridge. It really focused what they call the corridor, mainly because a lot of the homeless folks were congregating in those areas. There was a lot of social disorder associated with that. So they hired Randy to come up with a plan. They created this safer community plan. When I came into post, just in January, they asked for a review of that plan, and I met with staff from the City of Duncan, and we took a look at that, and we met with the councils of City of Duncan and North Cowichan, and they asked us to update that plan or to revise it. So we went forward on a process of community consultation and engagement to look at what might we do to enhance the safety of everyone who lives and works and travels through those areas, and including, of course, those folks who are residing in those areas because they have nowhere else to go. So the process of the plan was to meet with all the stakeholders and to gather up sort of input and create something that gives us an actionable, immediate, and long-term outcome. So the plan is not a long-term process. We wanted to go through it fairly quickly and come up with something that was going to be having some impact in the short term. So today what I'll do is I'll just give you a little bit of a sense of where we are in that planning process. So we're starting with the social service providers as one of the key elements in that. So we've met with a number of the folks who deliver services directly in this community, and that would be Canadian Mental Health Association and Lookout Housing and Health Society. And the folks who are, so to speak, at the front end, staff from Cowichan Tribes, people who are delivering services directly to this population and to everybody in the valley. So they identified as frontline workers and as managers as what were the key priorities in terms of the social infrastructure. So we recognize that really, if we don't have a solid social infrastructure in place, we're not really going to be able to tackle these issues effectively. So that was the first protocol, so to speak, was to meet with those folks. We've begun a process of developing a plan with them that outlines what is it really are the needs in the community, and what are the resources and things we're going to have to put in place to address those needs. And while there's a fair amount of focus on those folks who are unhoused in our community, who are suffering from addictions and mental health, who you can see when you go up and down the streets in our city, but we also included in that the folks who don't show up in the same way. So elderly people who are at risk of losing their lodgings because the rental increases, or young kids coming out of foster care, all those sort of pieces too. But within that plan, we really are focusing on the piece that presents to the general public when you come into our city centre, into our public places. So that process is underway, and I would expect in the next couple of weeks that we'll complete that process. And that piece of documentation we derive from that will be sort of the base of our Safer Community Plan. We recognize that people really, they're here on our streets because they don't have any other options. And so part of that plan is to look at the immediate term. So we want to have actionable solutions that have an impact right away. We have a medium-term solution, which is we know the services and supports that need to be put in place that are slightly longer-term in nature. And then we have our longer-term frame, which is permanent long-term solutions. So we recognize that a lot of the things we're going to do are going to have to be quick and now, because the problems are pressing and the issues are pressing, and we're getting a lot of feedback from the community that these things need to be dealt with. So we're rattling along with that, and I can't bring you a lot of content around that because we're still in the process of working that through. But I can say that when I spoke to the councils about creating a Safer Community Plan, we recognize that we have to have those things in place. Like ultimately, my experience has been if people have nowhere to go, they will congregate in your public spaces, in your streets, in your parks, in your fields, in your marshes, etc., etc. So ultimately, we're going to have to give people a place to go that's supported, and that's the short-term vision, is to create supported immediate places for folks to be able to spend their days and nights. So that's the basis of the underlying infrastructure, the social infrastructure piece. And my goal is, as we go through this process, and once we arrive at a clear idea of what that social infrastructure looks like, we want to align all the jurisdictions around those needs and around our identified solutions. So then when we go to advocate to our provincial and federal partners, who are really the ones that should be paying for all this stuff, that we're unified and we're coherent and we're clear about what we want and what we need in this community. And then, as we go out into the community in terms of our elected officials and representatives, that when they get that chance to buttonhole a Minister of Housing, that everyone knows what it is they're going to ask for when they get that guy in their hands, or the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, etc., etc. So what I've found in my experience is when everyone's on the same page and you're clear and coherent and unified, government can work with that, provincial and federal governments. So that's really the goal of the outcome of that, is to get that buy-in across those jurisdictions, including everyone who has a piece of this puzzle: Cowichan Tribe, City of Duncan, CBRD, yourselves, ourselves in North Cowichan. So really to get that piece in place so that we can advocate effectively for this community to have the investments we need. So that's the social infrastructure component of the plan. Of course, because I'm in charge of protective services, which is the RCMP bylaws function, we also have an enforcement piece on that. So that's possibly more germane to where you guys are at right now. But what we intend to do is to take that social infrastructure as the basis of the plan and layer on top of that our enforcement response, so the two work together. So ultimately what we have is the RCMP, who have a corridor enforcement unit, a dedicated team that works on this area. We have our bylaw officers for North Cowichan, who are also dedicated to this area. And we have the City of Duncan, as well as Cowichan Tribes. We have a couple of, I'm going to call some structures that we work within. We have a Safer Community Group that meets regularly, and that includes all the bylaws and our CMP members. We have the Public Safety Working Group that's held by Cowichan Tribes, and we meet with them regularly to do that. So we have a couple of processes where those folks who are really doing the enforcement work on the ground are meeting on a regular basis to coordinate their activities. For your information, as you'll know, when we go through the summer, we'll be doing quite a bit of work in the area around and adjacent to the school to ensure that we manage some of the public disorder issues that are rising, as we all know that they do. We have some constraints, of course. We have two things, and one is that if people have nowhere to go, the best that our staff can do is really to move them about from place to place, and that's not very satisfying for my staff or for the folks who get bumped from place to place. There's really not a lot of options for them, and so we have two kind of main goals on that. One is we want to prevent entrenched encampments. So we recognize that people who have nowhere to go, they'll settle somewhere, they'll put a tarp up, they'll cover themselves from the wind and the rain and the sun. And we understand that. We provide a little bit of slack for that because we recognize that they're just not walking around all day. It's not really a solution for them. But we also recognize when those things get entrenched, that they're really difficult to remove. And they tend to grow in size, and the amount of disorder tends to exacerbate over time. So we have a bit of a strategy that looks like unsettling those folks just often enough to prevent any kind of entrenchment, but also recognizing that having them moved every 10 minutes isn't going to be a productive solution for anybody either. So we try to find that balance between giving them the dignity and the ability to just sit for a bit. Okay. So we recognize also that the school grounds here are in an area where there's a lot of folks who are unhoused, and we try to pay attention to this jurisdiction as well, to keep an eye out on the fields and the buildings and the staff, etc. And we have limited abilities in some ways, we can only do so much. But ostensibly what we'll do with our enforcement is just try to ensure that the public disorder is, let's just say, kept down to a dull roar, and that we take folks where they're at, what they're doing, and try to help them to access those kind of services and maybe able to see some change. So it's a tough job for all my staff. We come down here 5 days a week and we try to manage all this disorder. And we're here today just to say that we want you guys included in that plan and to have any input from you. And I'll just say that we're going to have a public meeting on June the 20th. And I'll make a note that we're inviting the businesses who are on the corridor on the Trans-Canada Highway, and we're inviting the residents who are in these really high stress zones.
What's the date?
June the 20th
At
7 o'clock, I think it is, and it's here in the multi-purpose room.
It's where?
6 o'clock, thank you. In the multi-purpose room in the Quamachin Middle School. Yeah. Thank you for the use of that facility, by the way. I think it's going to be nice. It only holds, I think, as you know, 280 people or something. So we can't invite the whole universe. So we really are focusing on those residential areas right around here, for example, that really do get a lot of stress placed on them. Folks up by the food bank, they have a lot of stress as well. So we want them to come and voice their concerns, to hear what their input is. And we certainly would invite anyone from the school board to come along to that. It is just a public forum, and it's really a question and answer situation we're putting up there. So that'll be part of the plan, getting everyone's concerns and their input to that, and we'll build that into the safer plan. So I'll stop talking there because I think I just ran out of my 10 minutes.
So just so you know where we are at with the school district has an open line of communication with the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, and we have asked that no site to be around our schools. We are currently in a position where we're now having to cut out of operations, and we have been putting out a fair amount of money out of our operations budget to take care of some of our problems, especially when we had the warming center across from Cal High. That cost us quite a bit this last winter, and that money directly came out of classroom dollars. So we're very much aware that we no longer have extra funding to be able to pay for this anymore, and we do have monthly fencing bills, and when we close Cowichan Secondary, that'll be happening as well. So we thank you for including us in your feedback, because we do have some concerns that we're cutting resources out of the classrooms. So the least that we have to cut, the more appreciative we are, because of course, in our case, we have to put our kids first, and try to divert funds away from that situation and keep them in the classrooms. And we made a pretty big hefty cut this year. So just so you're aware, we are now spending operations money because of decisions that local government's making. It's costing us money. So it's actually not costing us anything. It's costing our kids. So just so you're aware that this is now taking classroom resources out of the classroom for kids. And the ministry is well aware of our position of keeping services away from schools, and they're supportive of that. So just so you know where we're at with that. Trustees, any feedback? I saw Trustee Crosstown go up.
Yeah, I just want to say that on balance, I think this board always feels heard by North Cowichan, by both staff and councillors. And hopefully that works both ways. We have a good working relationship. Just to say it out loud, Cowichan campus closed of its own accord very recently because of concerns about having kids in the neighborhood sharing it with the unhoused. And I think sometimes it's the populations that accompany the unhoused, right? So we're not laying it at anybody's doorstep. It's a complicated kind of a thing, but it was not sustainable. And Whether it was safe or not, we had too many close calls and the community didn't feel safe. So we have to go with that. So it was kind of a failed experiment, having these populations close to one another. Having a closed campus is not a solution. So as we move into Cowichan Secondary, I can't even imagine trying to close a secondary school. It ain't gonna happen. So although we found a one-time solution, it is not a global solution for this, the closeness of the two communities. It doesn't work, it's not sustainable. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Now, I know nobody's pushing for us to open that or to do any more, but this is it. We cannot accommodate anything else at this point, and we have 10 years of experience and evidence to back us up on that. So that's where we are, and thank you for listening. And thank you for an excellent presentation and for taking this on and for gathering the groups together that do need to speak on this.
We can't promise any magic solutions, of course. If I did it, have a Nobel Prize, I'd assume, or something.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So we're just going to do what we can do and sort of try as best as we can to balance everyone's interests and, of course, try to have an impact on the issue. And that's the main goal, is really to see if we can have an impact. So,
So Trustee Dillman and Trustee Sousa?
Why do our decision makers continue to insist on putting all these services right in the middle of 4 schools and causing us so many problems?
that I can't speak to. That's not right. It's VHA and other groups. We don't choose those locations. They do, you know. So there's a philosophy that they're all working behind, which is that they put their services close to amenities where everyone is, you know. So.
But none of those decision makers speak up. And the community is just at their wits' end because nobody says it.
Yeah, we have ongoing dialogue with VHA, Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions as well, to talk about our concerns with the placement of services and the concentration of services. So we are on the same page on that, absolutely.
Trustee Sousa?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, the district, you know, along with all the other jurisdictions, we are all part of a web of relations, and everything affects everything else, you know, and in very deep and powerful ways and very challenging ways at times, such as the issues that we're now dealing with, that have been dealing with for a while and just, you know, are basically getting worse. And so the solutions are not easy. And for me, I don't see the world in black and white and polarized ways, but very much in shades of gray. So I very much appreciate the approach that you're taking here in terms of the program, in terms of bringing people together to sort of look at, you know, how, you know, we didn't get to this point overnight, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a concerted effort, compassion, a way of understanding the world that is based on nuance and not in polarizing sort of ways, and that we are all part of this, all of us. And so I really, just to say that I appreciate the presentation and the approach that is being taken here. So I raise my hands to you. Thank you. And hopefully something really important. You know, we're all out on this journey in one way or another. So I'm really interested to see what will unfold over the course of time, especially coming out of this public meeting and going from there. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Trustee Strachan? Would you like us to submit something to you? You said you were coming to us because I'm sure this is the only time you're consulting with us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that you have the opportunity then to provide us with any input that you'd like to have. We heard some tonight, and we've had discussions in the past with staff about the concerns, you know. So we're happy to receive any input in terms of the formally, you know, even just an email, we can build.
And I know we've been documenting, we have a 2-page document on just the costs at Cal High this year regarding the warming shelter, and it was a very costly winter. So we do have documentation on how much. I know we're past the $250,000 place. So, however, it's coming directly out of our classrooms. So not only are we worried about our kids becoming, so we've asked our kids, we've asked to try and get away from stigma, but what I'm nervous about is how desensitized the kids are becoming to the folks that are on the street, and it's almost scary that they're okay with just walking over somebody that's laying lifeless on the street. So, so we have a dual problem, and I hope that somehow help can be made. However, this board's first priority is classroom dollars and making sure that our kids get what they need. And we have to stand behind that. And I know that it's costly for everybody, but we know that security was given at the community center for the boarding shelter. And we know that the security was literally just sending people across the street into our parking lot. So, it'd be nice if government gave us money as well to handle the problems when they're putting situations in our front door. And that's exactly what happened. When these plans are made, we just ask that you remember that kids in education are losing money in classrooms when things are put without funding. If we had been given a nice hunk of funding for our own security at Cowichan Secondary, then maybe this would be a different conversation we're having today. But that didn't happen. And I know that it was done because it was a central area and they felt that it was best. And in the end, I think we learned that that was a failed experiment. And I hope that it doesn't happen again. However, we must remember that our young people, we must remember that not only do we have the obligation to give them the best education, but we also have the obligation to keep them safe. And so that's why, we've asked that services be removed from the area so that we can guarantee safety of kids, get them educated, and then hopefully give them back compassion instead of the lack of. It's just hard. And we really, the board completely, our hearts go out to the folks that are on the streets, and we know that there's numerous groups that are working to try and support those folks, that whether they're homeless, whether they're suffer with addiction or mental health, we know that, and we support that. We can't support it somewhere close to our facilities, so thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Please. You mentioned a draft report. Is that something you can share with stakeholders? And because I think you've got in the school district, you have a really unique opportunity through the unions and through the employees and through the parents and through the district. It's a client for you that has a whole different perspective as it relates to safety, not just in and around the schools, but on our ways to and from work and things like that. So it'd be great if we could take, I don't know if it'd be embargoed or something, but if you could share that with the board chair or with the district.
Gotcha. Yeah, when we get to the draft stage, we'll be sharing that with everybody, all the businesses and the residents and the stakeholders, etc., so that everyone can have a crack at it, and see what they think. So we'll bring that forward when it's ready for, so to speak, prime time. So,
that would be great.
You betcha.
No, I just want to sort of say that Trustee Strachan had her hand up for a bit there.
Well, thank you, John. I know it's such a hard topic, and it's a weighty, I guess it's a heavy topic, but I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us about this tonight. Thank you. Have a good evening. All right. 6.1, Secretary Treasurer report of closed meeting.
Thank you. The board met in closed session at 3:30 p.m. earlier today. There was personnel, property matters, and compensation planning on the agenda. The board concluded its business.
Thank you. Action was 7.1. Everything's completed. That's nice. Superintendent of Schools, principals and vice principals updates.
Okay, thank you. On 8.1.1, principal and vice principal updates, on page 33 in the agenda package, you will find a few adjustments that have been made to those assignments for next year, which is 2024-2025. These changes were communicated to schools and district staff on May the 24th.
Trustees, any questions? Moving on.
Okay, for board information. Okay, so the board has the official school district retirement dinner, which is going to be held on June 10th, which is absolutely next Monday. So it's coming very close, and of course trustees host this event. It will be held at Arbutus Ridge Golf Course. It begins at 4:30. And the trustee role will be to come and attend and be available and to present gifts to our retirees. There'll be a group photo at 4:45. A buffet dinner will be served, and the retirees will be introduced. There'll be a brief bio read by our MC and a presentation of gift by a trustee. And the event will end approximately around 7:30 p.m. next Monday evening.
May I ask who the MC is?
The MC is our very own Assistant Superintendent of Community Engagement, Jeff Rowan.
Thank you very much. Tried to beat Mr. Russell last year.
So moving on to the school district calendar, I believe it's up there for you to review. It's included on page 34 of the agenda package. It has since been updated to show the 2-hour early dismissal days for PLCs, and they are on October the 23rd, November 20th, February 26th, April 23rd, and May 14th. So they've been included in that calendar. In addition to that, the Cowichan Valley Teachers Federation has now confirmed their non-instructional professional days on that calendar, and they happen to be October 25th, February 14th, and May the 2nd. So they're all put into that calendar for the public and for your review.
Thank you. Questions? District scholarship.
District scholarships, there was a total of 66 scholarships for $1,250 each. That were allotted to the Cowichan Valley School District for a total amount of $82,500. The final numbers for the district scholarships that each school awarded are as follows. Shamina Secondary 5, Cowichan Secondary 28, Francis Kelsey 21, Lake Cowichan 3, and Seavolk 8 for a total of 66. Trustees were invited to join the presentations, and all judging has now been complete, and names are being collected to report back to the Ministry of Education and Child Care. So I want to thank the trustees who were able to be in attendance, and later on in our picture show, you'll see there's a few presentations there that schools sent for photos forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Clomichan School Annual Update. I'm going to be asking Assistant Superintendent Jeff Rowan to provide a verbal update. I want to remind the board that in the past, that on February the 2nd of 2021, there was a motion that rescinded that Clomichan School would be an open campus subject to a number of events. But last year, that was amended to make the recommendation for a future reporting in June of each year. So Jeff Rowan will be providing a bit of an update around Clomichan School, and there has been many changes since February 2nd of 2021. So he's here to share with us how it's going at Clomichan School.
Yeah. So really pleased to be, we were working closely with Clomichan all year. I've had some meetings with Darren Hartby and the team over there. So Clomichan, as you know, serves about 550 students, grade 8 and 9 ages in the central zone. This year, big changes with the closed campus, I think is the main message. So the first one is culture and activities. The school culture has changed really 180 degrees in terms of belonging and attachment with the closed campus. There's much higher levels of student-requested clubs and activities, and a great deal of opportunities to play sports, both organized and kind of impromptu. I think Claire made the comment to me, if we look on the field, which we're able to do here, you can see a lot of activities at lunchtime, just the impromptu softball, playing catch, basketball, soccer, and those kind of activities have increased dramatically with the closed campus. Number two, the healthy food. Healthy food options being closed campus. Nourish Cowichan provides Clomichan with food for no charge to the kids. They also this year have a President's Choice grant where they've been operating a salad bar and fruit bar every day as well, which has been very popular. We're hearing that Nourish Cowichan is also doing some of that work in other schools with salad bars, and very, very popular with kids all of a sudden. They've really incorporated student voice in the school store because they bring in food. Things like sushi, wraps, and bowls are popular, and those are things students can pay for in the school store. Further, the PAC has done twice a month, they're doing the hot lunch options with Booster Juice and Subway. Again, popular with the kids, and all three of these options that are very healthy options as opposed to the strictly fast food options over here. So they're very pleased with the food options and the healthy things going on there. Some behavioral improvements. There was real concern last year of they logged in excess of 12 fights that had gone on campus. Some of those fights escalating in violence, the threat of weapons involved being off-site. This year, there's only logged 3 fights that were controlled very quickly, with much more quickly adult intervention and a lot reduced seriousness. So very pleased with it. The other thing is with the closed campus, the outside agencies, CMHA, Cowichan Valley Youth Services, and others have also been coming to the campus to meet with kids to share their services at lunch as well. Communication, the survey last year in doing the closed campusing, there were surveys of parents for the current grade 8s and the incoming grade 7s, and really there was overwhelming support to close the campus in this area. Parents were informed this year, and one thing they had to get on top of right away, parents are not allowed to give their kids permission to go off campus, because that would defeat the whole purpose, right? So there was a little bit of education there, and the parents responded very well to that. So in other words, I can't give you a note saying you're allowed to go off campus, and then it changes the whole dynamic. Actually, I was really surprised. They only had about 15 students they had to speak with about leaving campus without, inappropriately, without permission. And really just that they didn't have to escalate consequences for that. The kids responded really well. They have monthly grade assemblies with all the kids, and also they meet with their advisory reps to get student ideas about what can happen at the school during lunchtime and other activities and get feedback, which has been very positive. The last comment I wanted to make about Quamachin was just the Wellness Recovery Center or corridor. So trustees have a feel for that, which I think you do. I represent the school district. We meet every first and third Thursdays of the month from 12 to 1 p.m. over at the Warmland House site. It's a productive meeting. The issues get brought up. I feel like we've had really good support from the RCMP and North Cowichan bylaws. It helps out amongst the other parts of the group too. Their feedback from the Quamachin being closed campus is it's really helped reduce issues from their side as well. The overdose recovery site or the overdose prevention site, they don't want kids interacting with their clients. They know that. They're committed to that as well. In the previous year, the reports we've had of kids, there were weekly issues with kids reporting feeling unsafe as they are out and about, witnessing something that is unsafe, and also, especially that age group, students going and almost harassing the unhoused people. And those have all, there's been no interaction with the kids this year and the unhoused clientele. The vice principal is out every day patrolling, and he said he's even had it hasn't been an overwhelming number of interactions. Some activity behind the dike he's had to deal with a little bit with people camping, and just one on the basketball court here where there was somebody unconscious and they phoned the fire department. So yes, the partners in the WRC group have been very pleased with also the way Quamachin has interacted this year. So, I guess in conclusion, just school culture and participation has been very enhanced. I think we've noticed it from even our board office support. Quamachin far calmer. And I notice that when I'm in the hallways, there's a nice, it's a more relaxed atmosphere. I think the kids being told they have to stay on campus has actually been a benefit for them. It's taken the pressure off of them feeling like they need to go roam around and be in the fast food joints or interacting with the things they shouldn't be interacting with.
Any questions for Jeff, trustees? Trustee Doman, then Trustee Kraft.
You talk about all the extracurricular activities. How is that helping with overall attendance and overall feeling of being welcome in the school, and is it helping with their grades?
I can't comment too much on the grades per se, but the feedback we've had is that the behavioral issues are, there's much more of a regulated feeling in the school. I think last year we've noticed the number, Palmerton had a number of serious issues that we had to go deal with, especially those ones when I mentioned the off-campus and some of the fighting things that really escalated. So not having that in place, I think, has allowed kids, what I'm hearing is allowed kids to
Let's all point at Carmen.
We're already looking at her.
Poor Carmen.
I don't know why I'm turning you off.
the subjective evidence is, the subjective opinion is yes, it has improved the English. I can get more if you'd like to, etc.
Well, it would be nice to know, because to have a look at, and is it helping with attendance, like overall attendance?
Yes.
Kids wanting to come to school because there's more going on.
That's right. And feeling connected when they're there. So yes.
Okay, Trustee Croft and Trustee Sousa.
I just wanted to say thank you for representing us on that committee. And what does WRC stand for again?
It's the Wellness Recovery Center. So it's that.
Okay. And you
It's
called it a corridor as well, Wellness Recovery
yeah,
Corridor.
it's because you have the warm land across the road, and then you have the Island Health on the second floor and the overdose prevention site on the first floor. So it's kind of all together called the Wellness Recovery Center. It's taken me a while to get used to everything.
Oh, yeah, pronunciation.
Yeah, so all those services kind of.
Yeah.
It's on York Street over here.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for
Trustee-
your work.
Trustee Sousa?
Yes, thank you. This sounds all very promising, and very, very heartened by these developments. I'm curious as to whether the policy will continue into next year. Thank you.
I would strongly advise we keep it closed for next year and do not change that.
Superintendent?
I would say that at this point in time, the school has done some excellent work around engagement with their own community, and it's really up to the school to do that work. And I think that that's what we observed in the last 24 months, is that we had a school that was an open campus, but the good work of the leadership of the school site engaged with the community, talked to kids, found out what they needed to have. And so now I don't think anything's going to change. It really is that we have a motion that we give an update to the board every June, and it's really more about the work of the school and how they actually do that work. So I would gather a great guess. I would say that they're going to continue with a closed campus next year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
They have every intention just to keep it closed next year.
And I think that alleviates the concerns of the board, because we were worried about those grades being together with everything that was going on over there. And if now that's settled, then maybe that no longer needs to be the concern of the board as to any kind of other conversations that we had considered to have if this situation didn't improve. So that's a really big positive. So thank you for that information. Any other questions, trustees? Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks.
8.2.5, superintendent's update.
All right, moving on to acknowledgements and appreciation. This is what I do at the beginning of all of this. I'd like to acknowledge and congratulate Louise Thompson for being re-elected as president of the CBTU, and Aaron Harvey for being re-elected as president of the LCTA. I'd also like to congratulate Nicholas Schofield for being newly elected as vice president of the CBTU. Also in the room today to acknowledge and congratulate Carmen Sundstrom for being re-elected as chair of DPAC for the 2024-2025 school year. I'd also like to congratulate Kirsten Timko for being newly elected as vice chair of DPAC. And so we're very proud of all of them, and we're happy to collaborate and work very closely with all of those parties. I also would like to recognize Brenda Lee. She happened to be in the room today. Also Sarah Foster, our manager of early learning, and all the kindergarten teachers and the community agencies that really work together around Ready, Set, Learn and Ready, Go events. They set the stage for all of our early learners that come in to the district. And so there were a number of events that were held during April at locations throughout the Cowichan Valley. And if you recall, the theme was dinosaurs. So the attendance at the events were as follows. So Chemainus Elementary, children and adults altogether 58. Paulson Elementary 24 and 22 equaled 46 totals there. Discovery Elementary, a total of children and adults 32. And Cowichan Community Center, we had 20 children and adults attend that. So overall, the event total would be 156 children and adults who attended the Ready, Set, Learn events that were held in April. I also want to talk about the community partners who actually worked with our kindergarten teachers and our early learning leads. Island Health, Vancouver Island Regional Library, Sundrop Center for Child Development, Strong Start BC, Cowichan Eye Care, Chemainus Community Schools Association, Cowichan Valley Métis Association, Child Care Resource and Referrals, and Clement Center. So a great thank you to all of them. And then, of course, we had the Ready, Set, Go school-based events that were facilitated by kindergarten teachers at each of our elementary schools. And, of course, those events are still going on, so attendance will be collated in the future. Moving on to Skills Canada National Competition results. You'll remember that we had a couple of children, students, learners, teenagers attend the Skills Canada Nationals in Quebec. And I would like to report out that Haruki from Cowichan Secondary competed in the cabinet making category and he achieved silver. So very excited. Congratulations to both Haruki and Esther, who also competed in the hairstyling competition. Okay. And then we have some photos that I'm going to ask our participants to put up. And we have a number of photos from across the district. So starting with Catalyst Update, the Drama Challenge results. And so for the judges and organizers, it was great to see the students enjoying themselves and flourishing in front of their eyes at the District Drama Challenge at Quamachin School on May the 2nd. Almost 100 students from 7 schools were in teams of 4 to 5 students performing a 2-minute pre-planned skit with an underwater theme. And then we're given 20 minutes to plan a 2-minute improvised skit. Now, if anyone knows the superintendent, it would be not my forte. So, very, very proud of these winners. So let's start with the grade 4 and 5 pre-planned skit. First place went to Crofton, Team 2. Second place went to Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 1. Third place went to Bench, Team 3. And then at grade 6 and 7, we had first place go to Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 2. Second place, Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 3. Third place to Chemainus, Team 1. And then grade 4-5 improv skit. First place to Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 1. Second place to Bench, Team 3. Third place to Maple Bay, Team 2. And then for the grade 6 and 7 improv skit, first place to Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 3. Second place to Bench, Team 2. Third place to Ecole Cobble Hill, Team 2. So if you remember all of those schools, I could say that you're looking at Ecole Cobble Hill and Bench were really taking the lead in this particular area. Okay? So very exciting for all of them, and you could see that they would have loved every minute of that. Okay, and then some recent events at Quamachin School. Quamachin Lightning. We're at Vancouver Island High School Track and Field Championships, so you can see some of the award winners there. They also did some indoor climbing. You scroll up to the titch there, you can see right there. And then if you move on to the next page, they also had some music and some dance events that were happening at... Malachi. Yes. All right, moving on to Paulson. Okay, this is very exciting. So they celebrated the National Dinosaur Day on Monday the 21st. And 3 Tyrannosaurus Rexes, Miss Dodge, Miss Egelberger, and Miss Somerville greeted students as the crossing guards at the start of the day and the end of the day. Students were encouraged to dress like a dinosaur or wear clothing that had dinosaurs on it. All classes enjoyed different dinosaur-themed activities and games. Students read books about dinosaurs, measured the size of real dinosaurs on the pavement, and watched videos teaching them about dinosaurs. It was a lot of fun and will become an annual event. You can see why.
Wonderful.
And then we go to Lake Cowichan. The lake had a wonderful day of capstones and district scholarships. Do you want to skip to the next page, Jason? I'm sorry, Secretary Treasurer. With members of the community coming in to support those scholarships. So I'm certain that some of you might have recalled these presentations of the capstone and the district scholarship presentations.
I do.
Okay. And then if you want to skip back up, Jason, these were also the whole school track meet that was held for grades 4 and 7. And then if you move on to the page past the capstones, we're going to come across the drama class. Oh, maybe not. Sorry, on June 17th and 19th, they are going to be putting on the musical Big Fish. So that will be exciting. So if you have any time to go and see the June 17th and 19th musical Big Fish, you might want to make your way there. Okay. Then moving on to the Grove. The Grove had the famous local artist Charlene Johnny come and do a painting workshop with their students in grades 4 through 12. They also had okay, I'll let you look at those pictures first before I move on. So this would be with Charlene Johnny. And they also had a 3-day workshop with Della Rice. The first day they received oral teachings. The second day they went onto the land exploring edible food and medicinal plants and harvested some for the third workshop day, which where they made tea and medicinal salves. They also had a 4-day watercolor workshop for students. The PAC also put on a spring fair after school, which was well attended by students, both past and present from all programs in open learning. Many community members also participated, including the Intercultural Society. It was an amazing day of cakewalks, bouncy castles, laughter, eating and games. And then on May the 23rd, they had the Nature Collective Program end of year school plays. 4 classes performed plays on stage at Providence Farm. One of the plays was completely written and directed by the students. It was amazing, and many parents and families attended to watch, and there was a huge school potluck in between shows. And lastly, they had a wonderful celebration day for the district authority scholarships. 12 students did a presentation, and all were amazing. Then we're going to move on to George Bonner. And these are photos of George Bonner 10K times columnist runners who went to Victoria to partake in the 10K run on Sunday, April the 30th. Photos from their play. Also here of Alice in Wonderland. The students had a wonderful time performing for families and students over 2 days in May. And then there was a grade 7 entrepreneur showcase in mid-May, and students designed and came up with a marketing plan and design of their product, and were able to sell them to students and parents who wanted to participate. And there you have it. There's some things that are happening across the district with some things from elementary and secondary.
Busy schools.
Not to mention Cowichan Secondary girls placed third in the province in rugby on the weekend.
Congratulations, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing, Trustee Doman. Awesome. There are so many things that go on in schools. It is incredible. And, and so we ask our schools to give us the highlights of things that are happening. And so that was this month. So many great things. Just wanted to also share with the board that, of course, there are 3 revised administrative procedures: AP 145, use of personal digital devices, AP 301, student registration, enrollment, and placement, and then also AP 360, assessment, evaluation, and reporting. And they were all reviewed at our Board Education Board Business Committee, and so they are updated for the staff across the district.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dolan.
And then just a reminder that June, of course, is Pride Month. The Pride flag is flying outside the school district office, and many activities are happening at schools to recognize Pride Month. The district is pleased to be able to support the message of diversity and inclusion and represented by those activities. And please join us, the staff, and I'm sure some of the board members will be at the Cowichan Walking Festival Pride Parade on
June 23rd?
Sunday, June 23rd at 11 a.m. I was a little hesitant to say that date because there seems to be some discrepancy on that date. And
June 23rd, right? Yep.
June 23rd? Yeah, thank you, on
With the
Sunday.
school district banner.
Yes, at 11 a.m., but please arrive earlier at 10:45 so we can coordinate us together, and we will be walking behind the banners, and we will have flags and stickers. And then moving on to a couple more items, we have the BC Child and Youth in Care Week from June 3rd to the 9th. Proclaimed by the Province of British Columbia in 2011, BC Child and Youth in Care Week is a time for everyone in communities across the province to support and celebrate our province's incredible diverse young people in government care. Youth envisioned a week that acknowledges and celebrates the unique strength of young people in care, and that's how BC Child and Youth in Care was created. And lastly, there are a number of celebration events happening. In fact, I think maybe even this evening, as people maybe exit this room. But I had the great opportunity to attend the Crofton Elementary Co-Salish Art Gallery on May the 30th, where children in grade 4, 5, and 6 looked at some of our beautiful pieces that we own. In fact, we have a couple in this room. They interpret it, they talk about it, and they choose their particular piece of art that inspires them, and they actually create their own art in relation to their piece of art that they choose, and then they actually have a bit of an exhibition of their learning, and so I was able to attend along with some of our other district personnel to hear from our children. So it was a great event. And that's the end of my update at this particular time, unless there's any questions.
Sure, and trustees, just a reminder that we lose quorum in 20 minutes.
A quick comment, and that is that at the Cowichan Valley Arts Council, we hire a lot of youth leaders, and the youth leaders that rise to the top are folks who've been involved in drama, and in many cases they are coaching other kids in improv, the younger kids, and in many cases they're studying it themselves in many different ways. And it is in our situation, is a huge recommendation as to who we choose for that job. It is absolutely an indicator of success that you need to work with younger kids.
Thank you. Okay.
Moving on for board action.
For board action, 8.3.1, coming up June 21st, National Indigenous Peoples Day. And so there is a motion that is there for the board to consider.
Absolutely, and we do this every year so that we keep the reminder front and center. So we have a motion before us that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley recognizes National Indigenous Peoples Day, June 21st, 2024. Moved by Trustee Sousa, seconded by Trustee Strachan. All those in favor? Thank you. And we have a trip here before us.
Yes, so 8.3.2, this is an international trip. It's been occurring now for the last 3 years. And it is where we do an exchange with Lyon, France, and it is our Cowichan secondary students who happen to be in the French immersion program. It's an excellent program, and there's a briefing note on page 35 and 43. And basically, you can see, even in the middle of the page where you have some italics statements, you can see what the exchange, how it has been successful for some of our learners. So for an example, the first one, I learned a lot about French culture, especially the language and how to live in a big city. I feel my French has really improved. And so before you is for action to approve this trip in principle, because this is the starting point that gives this group the ability to confer with their parents and do all the additional work that's necessary to plan the trip and get the funds in order, get the insurance in order, and move forward with Lyon.
Any questions before I read the motion? Trustee Strachan?
I think the most important quote was the last one. I learned to appreciate our school system in BC. That kid over there.
All right, trustees, we have a motion that the Board of Education of School District 79 Cowichan Valley grants approval in principle to the 2024-2025 grade 11 French immersion student exchange with Academia de Lyon. Moved by Trustee Strachan, seconded by Trustee Lise. All those in favor? Thank you. Obviously, I was not a French person. Secretary, thank you, Superintendent, for your report. Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you. I have a very minimal report this evening.
You do.
Having completed budget and other tasks. What you have here is just for information. As we are approaching the summer season, the board office does typically close to the public for that period of time to allow staff to take vacations and the year-end work to be performed. So before you are the dates that we intend and the times that we intend to close the board office for the summer. So the board office itself would be closed to the public. Of course, when people knock, we are here July 1st to August 23rd. Central receiving hours from July 2nd to August 23rd will be 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., a little bit shorter. And the operations will operate from 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. With the grounds and transportation on summer hours as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Sandquist. Schedule of upcoming meetings. Year-end celebrations, and then a reminder that we are going to be doing board planning as a tour of Cowichan Secondary, and a nice way to end the school year with sports. So, forward to next Tuesday. Correspondence. Motion to receive. We have two pieces. We have one from Leslie Chance, and the other is a response to our letter regarding inflation. Motion to receive, moved by Trustee Kraft, seconded by Trustee Strachan. Any conversation? Hearing none. All those in favor? Thank you. No new business. Question period.
Okay, so we do have some individuals in attendance in the audience. If you do have a question related specifically to an item on the agenda, it will be considered by the board at this time. You would type your name, address, the item on the agenda that your question is related to, and your question into the question and answer screen.
And we'll give you a couple of minutes.
And for our gallery, the reforms in the corner of the room.
Any other questions? Motion to adjourn, moved by Trustee Lizzie, seconded by Trustee Kraft. All those in favor? Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful evening.